All right. Hey, hello. So I'm in theory supposed to be editing a podcast right now. But instead, I thought I would offer a quick preview of The Curse of Ipau, which is the next thing that's going to come out for the Elephant and Macaw banner RPG. Let me just get that up on the screen. So already translated and published are the main rulebook, the player's guide, the Golden Condor adventure, and the Royal Captaincy of Rio de Janeiro is available in PDF. So um, any second now, this is going to get this adventure, The Curse of Ipona, which is 32 pages. That's going to get sent off to the printers, and assuming everything goes okay with that printing process, I'll use the same method for printing the Royal Captaincy sourcebook. But since that is 96 pages, I thought it'd be safer to try on something a little more modest first. So yeah, this will shortly be available through IPR, that's Indie Press Revolution, for you to play. So yeah, this is Curse of Ippo. Let me get to the correct thing. So by Luciano Palorgil, I think that's how you say his name. This was actually there was a competition in Brazil for adventures for people, basically for fans to submit adventures for the winner to be published. This was the one that won it, and it's really good. Like I remember when I first got the PDF of this in Portuguese, and I thought, oh, they won a competition, did it? How good is it going to be? But it's actually really well put together. I ran it for a group last year, and yeah, that went really well and enjoyed it a lot. And then reading it again to translate it, it's been quite a pleasure. So as you can see, or as you could probably guess from this cover illustration, which is by text credits Lucas Torquato. It's kind of a action horror, what you're seeing here. So, well, I mean, this is going to be a bit spoilerific anyway. This is a scene that happens during the adventure, or at least likely happens, since to get to Ipona, the cursed island of the title, the characters will have to go through the jungle, and maybe there's a monster that lives in the area, and they may have a restless night while it's stalking them or stalking around their camp. Who can say? So that is an example of what you might be doing in the adventure. Yeah, so you've got a couple of maps of areas. And yeah, here's the intro. So if it's for 3 to 6 players plus 1 GM, I think, I think 3 or 4 players would be best. I ran it for 4, I want to say. It was okay. Bit of an intro. Well, I mean, I won't go into this in too much detail. Basically, there's a cursed island. It's bad. The French showed up about some years ago, tried to set up a fort there because there's a whole thing about France having a colony in Brazil before the Portuguese, trying to set one up in opposition to the Portuguese, and that not really working. But the point is, these guys who were sort of French corsairs had treasure, and no one's, seen them or knows what became of their treasure. The beginning of the story in Rio de Janeiro, the banner, that's the player group. They get the gig to go looking for this kid who's run off with his friends. He wanted to be an adventurer all his life. So your patron is his godfather who feels guilty about it, and this is the getting the job part in the background. Well, within the city, you can investigate, down at the docks to find out which ship they took, prepare for your journey, and then there's the Jesuit college, which has the archives that the kids were looking at, and that sort of points you in the right direction. It basically, you read the same things they read to get going on their adventure. Following the trail, this is a bit about getting on the boat, which is a frigate run by a Dutch woman called Freda Lehmann. Goes between Rio de Janeiro and Santos, and to follow the youngsters who've gone missing, you need to get off halfway along the route, basically. Mermaid song. So the first of a serious spoiler now. There is a kind of encounter with a deadly mermaid and her seaweed man, servitors on the way. This is very cuttable, I think. When I ran it as a one shot, I didn't do this. Oh no, I did do this bit, but I kind of didn't make too much of a big deal about it. Also, I kind of didn't do too much with the NPCs who were on the ship. I think if you're doing 2 or 3 sessions, you want to spend a bit of time on the ship. There's some good stuff in here, including a married couple, and the wife is an escaped slave, and then they're very worried when this judge guy gets on board, and there's also like a suspicious friar, and what else? That's kind of it. Oh, and an academic who wants to find out about exotic animals and strange creatures, a bit like that guy with the camera that you can meet in Red Dead Redemption 2. So you see Seaweed Man, Seaweed Individual. It's quite a fun monster to include. Their deal is you kind of have to burn the seaweed bodies when you've defeated them, otherwise they come back. And then Kurumare, this is the village that you will land at, the little place, and the people you're looking for pass through there earlier. Hunter and Hunted. This is where it starts to get spooky. So far, it's been pretty standard. Oh, we're having a fun adventure. Ships, a mermaid. Oh no, but all kind of bright daylight and not too scary. And this is where the horror starts to come in. So you have a monster of a large, terrifying kind that starts to stalk the player characters as they're traveling. But eventually, hopefully, they will, after finding some of what was left behind, trapped a dead body or two on the group that tracking, they reach Apiku, which is a Tupiniquim village, an indigenous village, where it's like the last settlement before you get to the dead salt marshes, which is where Puna is. There's a bunch of people there, including a Portuguese missionary, which is convenient if you need the language to be translated. And there's a whole deal about, whether or not you're accepted by these people whose land you've just kind of shown up in, and you have to kind of be polite, basically. And the difference between the two outcomes, whether you, one way or another, they'll kind of, you'll leave the village and carry on, but what's the condition in which you do that makes a difference. So Father Bartolomeo can help out, and then the Pageo Pira, the shaman of the village, can possibly help you as well. But the Tupiniquim here, they will not come with you, because for them, Ipau is a taboo place because it's full of evil spirits. Makes sense. So the salt marsh, you've got to make your way through. There's some fun capsizing or wrecking your canoe things that might happen there. And then finally, the dark island. So this grey box at the top there, that's a whole list. That's 10 strange and scary things that can happen to you on the island. And so basically, while you're poking around the island and the abandoned fort that was there, or that is there, these are some incidents, moments, you might call them, in a trophy incursion. There's a spooky island for you. And then the false souls, these are the evil spirits that inhabit the place, and they are pretty bad. And then this is the classic key locations. I won't go too much into what's here. So there's some good. No, yeah, maybe I will. So the battlements, interesting. The stable has the skeletons of the horses left behind, but the skulls are missing if you look closely. There's the forge and workshop, which has some useful and some not so useful weapons in it. Same can be said for the arsenal. And then there's a prison, which of course contains some bodies from basically the French garrison of the fort got possessed by evil spirits, or rather driven to violence against each other, and there was a huge mutiny, and they all killed each other or ran off into the jungle or what have you. Captain LaSalle's house, this is important. He's got the keys to things, and also you'll find he shot himself rather than be killed by his men. And a bit of a spoiler, that picture, but there's some. Be careful where you're poking around in the infirmary. And then finally, though, the big kind of final encounter is in the chapel, which is where you meet the Jaraguas, and they are these. You'll find them in the main rulebook. They're the kind of black, shadowy cloaked kind of spirits, very tall and terrifying, like as in they can paralyze you with their shrieks or whatnot. And they also have horse skull heads, so that solves the mystery of where those horse skulls ended up. If you manage to come through all of this, then you do indeed find the young man you were sent to look for and his just one remaining companion who's survived. And that's kind of it. He doesn't want to go back, but he might join your character group, so that's good. And yeah, that's it. So you got a map there, some handouts. So these are the important ones. I've translated those into English. So this is some clues about facts you might need to know about Ipau. And this is a bit of the diary of Captain LaSalle, the French commander. And then the letter of introduction, I just left in Portuguese because it's a diegetic prop. And all you need to know really is that it's a letter of introduction. You don't need to read it out loud. And there's your back cover. So yeah, coming to a shop near you soon, virtually well IPR, and maybe I might have some early release PDFs. I don't know about that. So stay tuned. And that is pretty much it, actually. So, wow, 11 minutes. All right, I'm going to go. Goodbye.